Jeff Paterson, who raced home from the rink to be on this hit on Canucks Convo. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, am I the only guest on the show today, or is there somebody after me?
Just you.
Okay, so if there was somebody after, I'd be the penultimate guest. But this makes me the ultimate guest today. Yeah.
Okay.
That was really good.
That's a good start. That's a good start, Jeff.
I think I just raised the bar for myself, though. Now I have to knock it out of the park on this hit if I'm going to be the ultimate guest. So, where are we starting? What are we doing? There's lots going on with this hockey club right now, and it's opening night tomorrow night. I've been at this a while, but I'm a sucker for opening night in any sport. Opening day, I guess, in Seattle, playing midday hockey today. Why not? Utah Hockey Club. Going to get a first look at them, and then it's the Canucks tomorrow night. So, yeah. Fired up, ready to go.
What matchup, other than the Canucks, obviously we're going to talk about the Canucks. What matchup today, of ones that are happening today, are you most looking forward to watching?
I'm all in on Connor Bedard. Want to see second season of Connor Bedard. So you got Connor Bedard, North Van Kid, and this Utah Hockey Club. Again, I'm a sucker for sort of all the pomp and circumstance that goes into opening day or opening night. So I want to see what kind of show does Utah put on in its first? You only get one chance at a first ever game. So, first goal in franchise history, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's probably the game. Mid-season, Chicago and Utah, maybe not so much. But opening day, that's the one. I mean, Florida-Boston's probably a better matchup in terms of, teams that have history and teams that have designs on doing things. This season, I'm not sure how we got Seattle and St. Louis on opening. Like, that's just a complete non-starter to me, but apparently it is the starter for those two teams.
Quick follow-up here. Ilya Mikheyev slated to start the season on Connor Bedard's line. We had the debate yesterday. It wasn't even a debate. We just went with the over-under. We set the line at 40 total points for Ilya Mikheyev this season. Do you think he goes over 40 or under 40?
I thought you were going to say the over-under 40 of minutes that he's going to get to play with Connor Bedard before they rip him off that line. I honestly, I was shocked. I hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to the Blackhawks camp, but know that they had assembled some veteran guys to sort of surround and insulate Bedard. And then when I saw Mikheyev was on his wing to start the season, oh my. But hey, maybe another offseason for Mikheyev to train and get out of this market. We'll see what he's got. But I would probably take the under on the point total there, not buying high on Ilya Mikheyev.
JPAT, just big picture. I was thinking about this because I've been covering this team. This is my 6th season, which sounds crazy to say, but you've been at this way longer than I have. When's the last time that expectations for this team have been this high at the start of a season?
Yeah, I think you're going back to the heyday of the present trophy teams and the the run to the final in 2011. You're right. Time marches on. 6 years for you. Wow. Because I had this conversation with Brock Besser on Sunday out at UBC, and I said to him, this is the start of your 8th full season. And he just kind of scoffed you. And I know it's crazy, isn't it? And it is. They grow up so fast and in front of our eyes. And, he's got the tenure, obviously, on this team. Like, it's funny to say that, this guy's a veteran now through and through, but he is, as he approaches his 28th birthday early next calendar year. But yeah, I think you'd have to go back at least a decade. Coming off the playoff performance, the individual, achievements they had, the coach of the year, the Norris Trophy winner, the runner-up for the Vezina, even though Demko's not here to start the season, like, the component parts are there, and obviously they addressed area of need and concern on the wings, and Jake DeBrusk, I thought, had a decent preseason. He's a guy that's supposed to score goals for them. He came in, he scored goals, got the winner in Abbotsford, had 2 that night. I know he had an empty netter in the final one, but it would be a much broader conversation if this guy that they signed as a free agent to score goals didn't score any in the preseason. So I think, he hits the ground running now. Daniel Sprong didn't get a ton of time and a lot of run with Paterson and DeBrusk in the preseason. So I think that's going to be a work in progress. But right from day one of camp, and you guys were there, there's something different about his shot, just the way it looks, it sounds, the pop that's there. And you just think of how many opportunities did Mikheyev have last year playing with Elias Pettersson. I have to think that Daniel Sprong would be able to finish a few more of those chances. So I'm excited to see what that looks like on that line. And I think Danton Heinen is just going to be a seamless fit with JT Miller and Brock Besser. And in fact, Rick Tocchet talked today. He was asked about Heinen, and he just said, low maintenance, comes from a great system in Boston, knows his role, and is that defensive conscience that I think we all kind of thought that would be part of the idea of putting him with those other two. And Tocchet said, like, it might free up JT to take a few more chances. Now, I don't know that we want JT standing at center ice with his stick raised looking for the puck, but I don't think that's what Tocchet was getting at. I think that just the suggestion that Danton Heinen is going to be there to mop up the occasional mess left behind if the other two blow the zone, try and think about offense, whatever the case. This is a team that didn't get enough from its wing position last year. They went out, made some shrewd moves in the offseason, and here they are. So, yeah, I think there's reason to be excited. Do I think the Canucks are going to get off to a 10-2-1 start like they did last year? Probably not. I don't think Brock Besser is going to get 4 on opening night. Sorry, Brock. Even he didn't think that he would get 4 on. But like everything went his way and their way, really starting from night 1 with the 8-goal outburst against the Oilers. I think you have to temper expectations about the way this team is going to start. But I think for me, it's way more about a steady climb over 82 than being the first team to 10 or 20 wins in the regular season.
Jeff, I wrote about this at Canucks Army today. Players whose stock went up during the preseason. The guy on that list who I kind of said his stock probably raised the most from where we thought it was at the start of the preseason to now, Ratu. Doesn't look like he's going to get in the lineup tomorrow night. Just your thoughts on that going away from Ratu.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about it. It's sort of coaches defer to veterans, and Nils Hoglander's been at this for a lot longer now than a guy like Ratu, despite the preseason that he had. But boy, Pius Suter must hear some footsteps. Ratu was the center on that line through training camp in the preseason, and Suter was on the wing on Sunday out at UBC. So it looks like Suter's got his spot back to start, but I think he has to recognize that Ratu profiles as a third-line center, bigger, stronger, face-offs on both sides. Pius Suter had a miserable preseason. Let's be honest here. Like, there was nothing from him, and then he got hurt. And Rick Tocchet, at one point, I asked about Suter over the weekend, and he said, like, I give veterans the benefit of the doubt, and Suter certainly falls in that category. We saw Suter's so versatile, he can fill holes. Like, there's absolutely a spot for him, and he can help this hockey club, but I don't know if third-line center is where he's going to wind up. But I thought it interesting over the weekend as well that for the first time here through camp and preseason, Rick Tocchet said we can use him on the wing or we can use him at center. Up to that point, we all thought Pius Suter was the third-line center, but it does speak to the camp that Ratu had, and now they've got some options here. So Suter's going to start there. We'll see what happens. The other thing, guys, Rick Tocchet, after practice today, is saying Mark Friedman was a victim of the numbers game, which he is and he isn't, because he was on the 23-man roster. They could have moved forward with Mark Friedman and have 8 defensemen. They chose to put him on waivers, try to get him down to Abbotsford. Is there another shoe to drop here? Because Tocchet, in the same breath, also said Arshdeep Bains isn't here now, won't play tomorrow, but he could be here and could play as early as Friday. So if Friedman clears, they're going to have a roster spot, and we'll see what they do with it. Is this all part of them just starting to accrue cap space from day one, or are they looking at either bringing up Bains and going with 2 extra forwards, or they had the 2 righties as the extra D? Are they looking for balance? Could it be Brandstrom or Christian Wolanin? So there are some options here. I don't think that we're to the end of this little saga, if you will, just yet. I do think that there is a corresponding move to come here at some point.
Another big piece of news of the weekend was the 3-year Nils Hoglander extension. What did you make of the Canucks being proactive in making a bet on a player that I think a lot of us were looking at him and going, he took significant strides last year, but still has some progress to make as far as really establishing himself under Rick Tocchet?
Honestly, Harm, my first thought was, wow, security for Nils Hoglander. And then I thought, hey, they gave Vasily Podkolzin a 2-year extension in April and traded him in August. This management group isn't patient. We know that. And I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen with Hoglander, but just because he gets an extension here doesn't mean that he's going to be around long term. He could still be a trade chip, but I think at $3 million, he'd be viewed as a value here and around the National Hockey League. But a nice reward for the 24 goals that he scored last year, and he has been terrific from day one of camp. And on that line with Ratu and Garland, they were buzzing in Penticton. They've buzzed through the preseason as well. I'm really curious to see ultimately where does he slot in, because Dakota Joshua is going to return. I was told that he skated again this morning ahead of the group. I mean, this is real progress now that Dakota Joshua is starting to ramp things up. He's going to go out on the road with the Vancouver Canucks. At some point, he's going to get back in there, and you just assume that he's going to start with Garland and whoever's in the middle. So does Hoglander move up the lineup from there, or does he fall down to the fourth line where he had so much success early in the season? And the beauty there is that he showed, like, if he gets demoted to a fourth line role, he can still be really productive and win his matchups there. But I think at this point, that versatility is a bit of a selling point for him, that he can play anywhere in the lineup and help the Vancouver Canucks. But just because he's starting on that third line left wing spot to begin doesn't mean that ultimately that's where he's going to go. I think there's a lot of moving parts here. Daniel Sprong is going to have to continue to earn his spot with Paterson, because they know that they could plug Hoglander into that spot as well. But I think bottom line is 3x3 for Nils Hoglander. There's a real opportunity here for the Canucks to extract some value, because he had arbitration rights. If he had backed up his 24 goals with another anywhere close, even 20, take that to ARB, he was going to cash in, I think, more than $3 million per. So I think, again, another nice piece of business by the Vancouver Canucks front office to get it done now, not a distraction. There's some cost certainty for the club, and obviously for Hoglander, he gets a little bit of security in his back pocket as well.
Jeff, last one from me here. We know what the defense core is going to look like.
The penultimate one, right?
Yes, that's right. It is going to be the penultimate one, because Harmon will have a question, I'm sure. I'm going to start mixing that word into my vocabulary a lot more. But anyways, yeah, penultimate question here for the ultimate guest. The defense core. I almost lost it.
You were rattled.
Yeah, I almost lost it.
You were rattled.
The defense core. We know what it's going to look like. Like, we've seen the pairings for a while now. It's our poll question today. How confident are you in the Canucks defense pairs heading into the year?
Yeah, I've got concerns. There's some red flags, certainly. Harm and I sat in the press box and watched that game on Friday against the Oilers, and there were a couple occasions Derek Forbort had time, puck on his stick, and we always talk about that first pass and, clunk into guys' skates when it should have been a simple breakout. And there were a few of those types of occasions, and Vinny Desharnais, work in progress there. They like the raw skills. They think that Adam Foote's going to be able to mold him and sort of follow in the line of what they did with Tyler Myers last year. But in saying that, I'm curious, how do they use them? How often do they use them? 2 games at home where they can shelter them, and then they're out on the road for 4 where they don't get last change. And this league's so heavily scouted that teams are going to try and jump that opportunity when they can. So I thought Carson Soucy had a really nice preseason. I remember last year he got hurt in the preseason finale and then was gone for the first 15 games. Just kind of quiet, but I thought even from camp through the games that he played, he looked solid, scored a nice goal on the pass from Petey there the other night. So, I think like a lot of people, I've got some questions and concerns. Now, is there enough in the team structure with the forwards and the goaltending doing its part as well to insulate those guys? You hope so to a degree, but at the same time, this is the NHL, and if you can't get the job done, you're going to get exposed. So Forbort better be a really good penalty killer, because I think that's where the utility is going to come in with a player like that. And Desharnais, we'll see. I mean, it got to a point in the playoffs where the Oilers felt that they had better options, but he was able to play a full regular season schedule. And, with that experience, you just hope that another year he's a little bit more advanced, a little bit better, and ultimately we'll see how it plays out. But yes, I'm like most people that think if this team is going to take that next jump, that at some point with this cap space now that they're going to accrue, they have to be looking at upgrading the blue line.
The Pullman trade, of course, which Eric Brandstrom also came back to Vancouver as part of that move, is of course the reason why they're able to accrue some cap space right now and avoid LTIR. Just big picture, how impressed are you with this front office's ability to be proactive, to solve some of these cap issues, even going back to getting off of Ilya Mikheyev at a reasonable cost midseason, Anthony Beauvillier in the middle of the season, when they wanted to acquire Elias Lindholm, they were able to attach Andrei Kuzmenko as part of that. Just how impressed are you with this front office's ability to just maneuver and find ways to manufacture cap space when it's required?
Yeah, I think I like the fact that everything looks like it's done for a purpose and with a vision. And the previous regime, you can't say that there was a lot of stuff that was thrown against the wall, and then hope was always a part of the plan. And obviously hope is never the plan. You want things to pan out, but you have to have a vision. And I really do believe that Patrick Allvin does. And he seems to operate maybe at his best in those days leading up to roster setting. I mean, that's 3 years in a row now where I don't know if other GMs are just so focused on setting their roster, but he seems to be able to identify that that's an opportunity and to pounce. And look, we'll see how Eric Brandstrom pans out. He's 25. Usually first round picks, if they get to 25 and they haven't stuck in the National Hockey League, they are what they are. But I'm here if he turns out to be a late bloomer. We'll see. Although it was funny because I asked Allvin yesterday, was Brandstrom a player that the front office had identified in the summer when he was a free agent? And he said that there had been some internal talks and the pro scouting had certainly discussed him. But then in saying that, obviously they elected not to sign him. So they felt that there were other options out there that they just liked better. And then he said, we're glad that he got through waivers because now he can go down and we can work with him in Abbotsford. So clearly they see him as a project, but still, I thought they were going to have to pay to get off the Pullman deal. And yes, they threw in a fourth rounder, but they get a body that, first round pedigree. We'll see. I won't be surprised if Eric Brandstrom plays some NHL games for the Vancouver Canucks, and I'm sure that they're hoping that he does at some point. So yeah, a big picture, Harm. Have they won anything? No, they haven't. But you can see the building blocks. You can sort of see that there's a method to just about everything. It's all very calculated. And it seems like Patrick Allvin's got his hands firmly on the wheel, and they start playing for keeps on Wednesday night. And ultimately, we'll see where their travels take them here over the course of 82 games.
Jeff, great stuff as always. Thank you so much for joining us. We have to get to our penultimate segment today.
All right. It was fun. Let's get her going. We'll see you guys at the rink. It's just about go time tomorrow night. So hope everybody's excited to get the new season started.
I'm going to use penultimate incorrectly many more times. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. There he is, Jeff Paterson. Make sure you tune in to Rink Wide Vancouver after every Canucks game. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.